Good afternoon and welcome to Business Day Television Roundtable, where we discuss issues of national importance and try to break them down to your understanding. My name is Joshua Bassey, and as always in the studio, I have with me two gentlemen who are going to look at the issues that we want to discuss today. And they are Mr. Odinaka Anudu, who is the Deputy Editor here at Business Day. And of course, I also have in the studio Mr. Chuka Uroko, who is the Assistant Editor here at Business Day as well. The two issues we'll be looking at today are one, the Nigeria Labour Congress President Joe Ajaero as ASUU to ensure that private universities are brought into the umbrella of ASUU, as it were. And you are beginning to wonder when whether private universities are no longer, private, because really, but Ajaero has his reason, and we're going to look at that today, whether private universities should also become members of ASUU. ASUU, as we speak currently, are basically, drawn from public universities. Not even all state universities are members of ASUU. But Ajaero is saying, look, it is time to bring private universities into ASUU. Well, we will look at that today and see how we look at and see the merits and the demerit of that, And of course, the other issue we also want to discuss today is a report by the European Union, the agency, they call it ASUU, saying that over 100,000 police officers in Nigeria are attached to VIPs, very important personalities, that's what they call them. So just Nigeria Police Force is about 300 something thousand, strengths, and so over 100,000 officers are attached to VIPs, and then you are wondering what is left to actually police over 200 million the population. Gentlemen, those are the issues we want to look at today, and I will be starting with you, Chuka. As we speak, ASUU is basically covering public universities. Private universities are not members of ASUU. And I guess there's a reason why that is so. But here we have Joe Ajaero, who is president of the NLC, Nigerian Labour Congress, pushing for private universities to come under unionization of ASUU. And I don't know where that idea is coming from, actually. Chuka, let me ask you.
Josh, thank you so much for the question. But I must start, first of all, to say that NLC seems to be at the end of its wits, so to speak. Because for the Labour Congress to start looking for where there is nothing leaves all of us, or leaves me particularly in a state of confusion. I don't know actually what they want to achieve by what they're saying, or the demand they are making. Also, NLC seems not to be coordinated. It's not at peace with each other, with itself. And I'm not surprised with what Ajaero, as the president of that Labour Congress, is saying, because by his person, he likes to stir controversy most of the time. Even I was privileged to be with him in the same newsroom.
Yeah, he was a journalist at Vanguard before moving to the Labour movement.
He can just come up with this kind of controversy, whether he derives any joy from that or just for the sake of it, I don't know. So for me, the idea of asking private universities to join ASUU strike.
No, not to join ASUU strike. To become members of ASUU.
Become members of ASUU. Yeah. And then perhaps when the ASUU is on strike, they will also be part of it. So I don't know whether that is what is going to give them the impetus to do what they do, achieve what they want to achieve. So for me, that core doesn't really strike a chord, and I don't see what the importance is going to bring or what the impact is going to make in the whatever ASUU strikes stands for. So for me, I don't see it's unnecessary. That's my take there. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. Odinaka, what's your take? As we speak, we have about 159 private universities in Nigeria, and we have about 157 public universities in Nigeria. Out of that, about 74 are owned by the federal government, while about 77 are owned by state government. So it means that actually almost equal numbers. If you look at the private universities and then of course the public universities, private 159, public 157. So you know that it's almost the same. It's almost the same. And then of course there's a reason why people, let me even say there was a reason why I think there was a gap. And so the coming in of private universities was to fill a gap. And I think that doing that, the filling of that gap very, very well. The stable issue of incessant strike is not part of it. So parents have actually found solace in the private university. But Joe Ajaero is trying to create controversy. Odinaka, what was your take on this?
I also read the report where he also noted that private universities were created as a form of opposition.
To spite ASUU, right?
So yes, I think that doesn't make sense to me. First of all, I start asking myself every now and again, what has ASUU achieved in universities? Between 1999 and 2025, they've gone on strike 16 times. What will ASUU say that it has actually achieved within 16 years? Every day, they're still talking about 2009 agreements, every day they're talking about old agreements. So it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why he's suggesting that. Maybe one small members so that they can, because otherwise I don't see. We created private universities were created because of incessant strikes in schools. You know that before even during the days of military, strikes were very frequent. So parents were no longer university that should a course of studies that will probably take you probably 4 years. Will probably take you 6. So people were getting fed up by that.
Yeah.
Every time is strike for one reason or another, and most times you find out that some reasons for going on strike could be very, very. Some reasons were not reasonable. So I don't think it makes sense for private universities, because that would actually mean that the reason why they were established, because they are not government. So why will we force them? They are not government. They are not part of. They are individuals who set up. They are
businesses.
So I don't know why ASUU has become so important after so many years of lack of achievement. Because when we go to universities, we see lots of projects that are not completed. There are so many things that are wrong with universities. I think it's okay. There's a story about somebody published a story. I think it was Punch about a university. About it's not university. I think it's actually a college. But that's by the way. But we should go around. Sometime 2-3 years ago, on TV, there was a list of there were so many universities that were mentioned where they were running programs at universities yet without licenses. So people would go spend a year, 2, 3 years. At the end of the day, the ASUU and NUC would say, particularly NUC now this time, NUC will say that they are not registered. So these are some of the things that ASUU should be agitating for or against. A student will spend 3 years, and it's happening here in Lagos, here in different parts of Nigeria. People will spend 3 years in fake universities. At the end of the day, NUC will come up and say, this is not accredited, this school is not registered. These are some of the things they should be agitating for. There are many problems other than maybe a 2009 agreement. So I don't think it makes sense. And I would, if I were probably to work, if I had a private school, I wouldn't join them.
No, I don't think I don't even think any private university will allow that. By the way, private universities are, of course, it's privately owned, and I don't even think that the owners of private university will even listen to this kind of proposition.
Unionism actually comes with a lot of problems.
It comes, yeah. There's no doubt about that, you know. But again, look at because I think the very strong reason why this proposition by Joe Ajaero should be, resisted, vehemently is the fact that, just take for instance, if ASUU goes on strike, right? Assuming private universities are part of ASUU, and the ASUU call for strike, and then everybody goes on. It means that the system would totally collapse. You understand? But today, the only, like I said earlier on, what looks like a solace, so to say, for parents is that, okay, fine, for those who can afford private university, you move your children, your work to a private university if you can afford. Yes, they are more expensive, but if you can afford, you are able to pay, and you know that 4 years will be 4 years for a 4-year course. If it is a 5-year course, you know that it is actually going to be 5 years. So this idea of you start school, but you cannot really predict when your child is going to come out, is going to graduate. It's something that
I think even NLC didn't think it through, so because it didn't consider the impact it will have on families and households, and then even social unrest. It will bring about people, especially in the society, people will not be at peace. If everybody and anybody who is a student will be at home at a particular time because there is this kind of call should even come from the private universities themselves. If there's so much that is there for ASUU, so much of the members are benefiting from being members of ASUU. I think it is now, because of what is accruing to them and it's not accruing to us. I know sometimes government will give money to public schools, which private schools don't take part in. Yeah. But they're not complaining about that. They're not complaining. So if there's such benefits, so much benefit that public schools are getting from government that private schools are not getting, it's enough reason for that kind of call. Perhaps NLC will be doing a kind of social kind of, okay, let us help these people to benefit. But I don't think that is the issue. It's just that when there is a strike by ASUU, let it be total. I think
that's what they're pushing for.
That might be the reason so that the labor unions are now having upper hand. So let it be total, so that not when some children are in school, others are not. Then government will not feel the impact. Perhaps they will. They are just reasoning that most of the government officials, they have their schools in private school, their children in private schools. Therefore, they don't feel when there is a strike, they don't attend to it promptly. Okay, if the private schools are also part of the strike, then everybody is affected. Maybe that is what they are pushing for.
But is it also then going to say that, okay, foreign universities that those public officials also send their children to school, come and also be part of the ASUU?
Yes.
So that when they ASUU go,
so that call for me is just self-serving. It's self-serving. Let us now, whenever we have issues, let it affect everybody.
Yeah.
And if it affects everybody, perhaps government will listen to them more than now that some people are in public schools, private school. I think this president will be concerned that children spend so long years in schools. Then when you have a place you can run to, to avoid that kind of thing. Somebody is saying, oh, you shouldn't be there.
Have they also been that?
Okay, Odinaka, because private universities have become business. There's not about that. So these are where people that just put their money. You see those who have made money, just want to establish private universities. So that's where it's an investment now. This call by Ajaero for private universities to join, so don't you think it will affect the confidence of investor? Because no investor wants to see that kind of instability, So he just wants to. An investor wants a system that runs, and is able to
stable.
Stable. Is able to predict what it is that should come back to him, because it's an investment now, really, right?
Yes, the point is that let's assume that it is just his opinion. Because I haven't seen it. This is just a one-off opinion. So if you start it, many people will no longer invest in that part of the economy.
Yeah.
So I won't put my money in a place where some individuals who don't care come and disrupt the entire thing and then move on. So that's the point. But I think the more important issue is the fact that this is what I expect NLC and ASUU to be discussing. Is actually the education model that works for Nigeria. We do not have an education model that works for Nigeria. Do you understand? And it's very, very serious. So take for instance, what people, if you watch recently, notice that universities have been increasing school fees. So the poor man's child who goes to federal university is also spending a lot of money for school fees, or on school fees. But the issue is that what type of model, education model works for Nigeria? Private model, public model. Because if you watch exactly the school fees and what private universities collect, one of the things I've noticed is the fact that because of inflation, the level of high inflation in Nigeria, notice that things tend to be very difficult for public universities. Very difficult for them. If you ask vice chancellors, they will tell you that they're getting less from the government, and the IGR too is also declining. I think that they should be talking about this. How do we ensure that education works for everybody? So must it be when it just, our analysis, everybody was talking about moving your children to private universities to avoid strike. That's what should be talking. There are professors, there are lecturers, they should be telling us the models that can work and not all of these things. If you look at the private sector model, it's very expensive. If you look at the public sector model, it's actually subsidized, but is this sustainable? These are the kind of intellectual argument I expect to hear from even Ajaero. You understand? So this is more because neither is working, neither is beneficial to everybody. The poor man cannot send his words to private universities. The rich guys or the ultra rich are sending their children outside Nigeria or moving into private schools. So how do we get an education system that works for everybody?
Yes.
It's a very important.
There
was a time I developed a model. Very difficult because I thought about it over and over and over. That's why politicians are failing in Nigeria. They come, they say they will do education for all, or maybe scholarships. They stop it midway because they have not really sat down to think it through. That if you do free education, it is not a sustainable model because free education will eat into government's coffers. At the end of the day, you cannot sustain it. You understand? If you reduce school fees to a certain extent, you begin to suffer.
Yeah, struggle to.
So how do we actually get a model that works? Do we involve international organizations? How do we raise money?
Okay, it's an important, question that government should actually look into. The Federal Ministry of Education, of course, alongside with even state ministries of education and the other stakeholders within the education sector. I think that's one though, because it's important to actually develop a model that actually works for
everybody.
Works for everybody and work effectively, for everybody. But then, I mean, still going back to this call by some I've seen a few commentaries that people have verified that in terms of even if you were to allow private universities to join ASUU, if at all that it will bring about a decline in the quality of delivery.
Yes.
Because as we speak, there are people who have the notion that look, private universities are delivering a better quality education than them. So if you want to then allow them to be part of ASUU and then begin to bring them to a level where at par with public university, and then the quality will also begin to go down. So I think it's something that it should not be allowed. You should just we know that there are concerns about the like you said, the money, the fee in private universities far higher compared to what. But I think that stakeholders in the education sector should actually just sit down, talk about what model works, so that the children of the poor
can also go to school.
So it's not only the children of the rich, because at the end of the day, the children of the poor and the children of the rich will meet somewhere.
Society, yes.
Whether we like it or not, at some point they will meet.
Their roads will cross.
Everybody lives here.
Their path will cross.
Their path will cross. I think it's in the interest of in this case Nigeria, to ensure that both the poor and the rich families also create a path such that everybody can just at least have some level of education that can take him or take her through his or her life. Okay, well, gentlemen, we'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll discuss the other topic that we have for today. Welcome back, viewers. We are discussing two key issues in our country. In the last 20 minutes or thereabout, we've been discussing the call by Joe Ajaero, president of the NLC, for private universities to come under the umbrella of ASUU. And I think our consensus here is that, look, you don't even discuss that at all. It's not something that we should be considered, given the damage we believe that will do to the education sector. We've seen several strikes by ASUU, and we've seen the damage that strike has continued to do to our education in Nigeria. I think that the call by Joe Ajaero is not welcome at all. Private universities should be allowed to operate the way they operate. The public universities should be allowed the way they operate. But we should actually say that as much as possible, government and stakeholders in the education sector should see as much that they can do to actually stop the incessant strike that we are witnessing in our public universities. But then, gentlemen, let's look at the other topic. A report by European Union agency, ASUU, that's what they call them, is saying that over 100,000 police officers in Nigeria are attached to VIPs. In a country where you have over 200 and estimated to 200 and about 36 million people, and we have a police population, police strength, workforce of about 37,000 thereabout. I'm sorry, 371,000 or thereabout.
In total.
And then out of this number, over 100,000 are attached to VIPs. Odinaka, what does this say about the fact that the police are not even able to do what they should do in society? Because this is the number that are attached to VIP, and these VIPs are just a few people leaving the chunk of the population to just without effective policing.
I want to tell you, sir, I went to there. I was shocked. the day I understood exactly what this report meant. I know the report says, but the day I understood this concept was the day I went to a church and I saw a man the son of a general overseer, with police all around him. That was the day I knew that we're in trouble. Again, when I was in Abuja and Abuja, I saw a general overseer. His headquarters are still in Abuja, Kubwa. He was moving. Everybody was saying, this is the GS. It's the GS of social church. You see policemen.
Geo.
You know, GS, depending on the church, superintendent.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think more than 10 policemen are guarding one man. So you can imagine a country where people who, some of them who are even preaching, as telling people
to believe in God and trust in God.
That God is your security.
God is your security. And now all of those people that are preaching don't have security attaches.
And he himself
has 10. It's actually a mockery. It's a mockery on what we have in our society. So the problem is that while we have policemen attached to politicians and clergymen, it's a fact that one, don't blame crimes. First of all, blame them. Because it's actually their actions that led to such whatever you call crimes. I know a politician, I won't mention him because people will say it's because of, I know a politician who works freely without a policeman. It's actually as a result of some of the things they do in the office. When you don't do well in an office, you will need a retinue of soldiers and policemen. But when you do well in a society, I'm not saying that you will not have one or two people guarding you, but you don't have to have, because the issue is that this is not evenly distributed. A House of Representative member would probably have 3 or 4. A governor will have 25 or soldiers. Then a senator will have 8. So it's not evenly, a local government chairman would probably have 6 or 7. So what type of society? Now look at the population. Recently, our population is now 230 million, approximately 230 million. I have policemen, 370,000 policemen. That's almost, it's not up to 2 to 1. So the ratio is probably 1.5, something like that, or less than 1.5 to 1 man.
Okay, thank you, Odinaka. Chuka, there's one thing that is worrisome, in all of this, is that every Inspector General of Police that comes, there's usually this order, directive, that policemen attached to VIP should be withdrawn. The current Inspector General of Police, when he came in 2023, when he was appointed in 2020, got this directive. In fact, in 2025, this year, there was a follow-up to this directive, but nothing has been done. And so is it I don't know, because you see, it's just like a case of police, Inspector General of Police coming and say, oh, no roadblock, all roadblock dismantled. So you see them coming in to give this directive, all roadblocks dismantled, policemen attached to VIPs withdrawn. But we still see these guys, like this report now. So does it mean that the IG just talk to nobody, or who should enforce such directive really? And the IG, issues such directive.
Josh, it's difficult to fault that report.
Or is it that the IG is just deceiving people?
Let me just learn. It's difficult to fault that report because if you go out there, you see the kind of people who go about with police security, so to say, anyway. I had a friend sometime, not a politician, not a government official, just an individual who has money. And each time I went to this man's office, there were 4 policemen. 2 at the gate, 2 at the reception. Then in his house, he had 2 waiting for him to come home. And he's just an individual. So what police authorities do, It's not necessarily because this is an important personality as quoted here, but it's because this person is a man of means. He has money. So what is driving all this is the urge by the police officers to enrich themselves. Like if the IG says, oh, no police officer attached to any VIP, it's just for the sake of, it's just saying it for the sake of saying. Because by the time somebody who has the money comes and says, oh, I need 3 police officers. I need 4 police officers. Depending on how much you give, you will get as many as you want. So that number may even become just conservative. It may be more. And that's why even police, the number that is left for the totality of all of us, they are not even well equipped to respond to emergencies.
Because that's another
so
thing.
If
what's attached to the VIPs, they take the guns.
They take everything, everything, equipment, even the vehicles go with them. Because if you have to move with a police officer or police officers, you have to fuel their vehicle. And if you cannot fuel their vehicle, you cannot have a police officer.
And yet, if there's a crime, they say
and if there's they just tell you point blank that there's no vehicle. And when there's fuel, when there's a vehicle, there's no fuel. So we are just misplacing priorities in this country. I have a story that tells me that the federal government has just set up a committee to go around the entire country to find out the state of the police barracks and even their residences. Now, there is also a plan by the federal government to employ 3,000 police officers, new. But one of the chairman of that committee, incidentally, the governor of Enugu State, they were in Port Harcourt a couple of days ago, and then they said, oh, we cannot recruit as many police officers as stated, because there's no barracks, there's no training college that is enough to accommodate this kind of people to train them. So the facilities are not there. And if you find that it's not as if government doesn't know what they can do, or it doesn't know what it should do. It's because a lot of things are going the way they should not go. Like what I'm just telling you. So this number of police officers would have been recruited, trained, and pushed to the society. But they cannot go because there's no police college ready to absorb them. The facilities are not there to absorb those men and women.
The barracks
are not there. So a lot of things we just misplace priorities in the country and then allocate the resources wrongly.
Okay, fine. Odinaka, the money that the police as an institution, right, gets from these policemen that are attached to VIP, because they pay, right?
Yes.
Those individuals pay for this thing. When does that money go?
asking me.
Aspiration of police, eh?
Because, like he said, if you go to the police today to make a report, the police will ask you to pay. In fact, in some cases, they ask you to even bring money for them to buy
paper and
pen and all of that. So they're always telling you, no, there's no money, there's no reason. But they'll ask you to fuel. If you have to invite them to go anywhere, invite them. So where does the money go?
Normally, what they will tell you, what will be on the paper, is the fact that they have deployed so policemen officers to this place, but you will pay them despite their salaries. You're paying those guys first, and of course DPO will not release them, except
you part with something.
You don't get, it's not getting anything. That's how sad it is. They don't know that Nigerians are the ones protecting themselves, because that's exactly what has happened. These days, you find that if you read news everywhere, it's whether people are taking laws in their own hands because they don't have anybody to protect them. So, one, the money goes into private pockets. Surely, it doesn't go to the government. You don't want it. Ordinarily, what should have happened is that if a bank needs this man, they should register and pay the money directly to the government.
Yes.
Or does it go into the accounts of government accounts? No. If no matter how you make legislation about this, it will never work. because the DPOs, the IGs, all those guys will frustrate your efforts. So that's how bad it is. Corruption in the police. Every time they do reports, all this Transparency International, all this, they always tell you that police and judiciary, that's where you find biggest chunk of corruption. So we cannot, Nigerians have become police. You're my friend now, you're a police officer. I will start after you have a friend who's I start police. Not to think about it. I don't need it. You might even put
Friends.
So that's how bad things have become. Let me also add that there are also countries, perhaps Nigeria does not know, there are also countries in the world, Iceland, New Zealand, all other countries that are least police. So they don't attach policemen to politicians because they don't have many. The people who are police officers in those countries, but
The citizen.
everybody, even the president of Iceland, he works
Freely.
He works freely. He doesn't commit crime. He doesn't embezzle money. That's why I mentioned that. Why it has appeared as if crime, everybody's afraid of kidnapping, and it's actually because of the attitudes of those politicians. Those people, not just politicians, so including religious leaders. In this day, politicians that we do, all of them, it's just one of them. Many of them have their
Police guards.
But generally, it's because of the attitude of the individuals who are in power, not only politicians. What they have done
It's haunting them.
is haunting them. It has made life difficult for a number of people who now turn to crime. So that's why you find everybody struggling to protect itself.
All right, thank you, Odinaka. I think this is where we'll draw the curtain. But I think it's important to mention the fact that we can't have a country where we, even the number we're calling, because 371,800 policemen in Nigeria to police a population of over 200 million people. Already that number we are not even sure as many as that. Because I recall at one event some time ago in Lagos, some years ago in Lagos, right from I was covering State House, and there was this, every now and then, the police in Lagos saying that there are 33,000 policemen in Lagos, covering estimated population of
21 million, 22
million, So that same figure of 33,000 policemen in Lagos was quoted by like 5 commissioners of police in Lagos who have come and gone at different, so at one point, at that one, if I don't want to mention his name, he retired as the Assistant Inspector General of Police. In the last 12 years, you policemen in Lagos have been quoting this same 33,000 policemen in Lagos. But I know that police retire. I know that new ones are recruited, but in the last 12 years, you call it 33. Can you tell us exactly how many you are in Lagos? You know what the Commissioner of Police said. So now they figure that you can't give them the figure of is security information. But this 33 you are quoting is what? In the last 12 years is that. So really, we cannot even actually say the
exact number.
371,800 we are quoting for the nation generally is correct. But the point is that even if that were to be correct, I mean, that is actually not enough to police a population of over 200 million people. But to even then take out of that over 100,000 out to actually then just secure some
1% of
private people and then the so-called VIP politician, I think is a disservice to the nation. It's a disservice to the nation. It is not surprising, therefore, that if you go to police, if you call a policeman in an emergency situation, you may not even find them to come and rescue such a situation. It's not also surprising that we have a lot of crime because we don't have enough.
I know what's surprising. If you have a crime at night, those places where you have those policemen, they will shoot rail gun. But if you have, I went to a police station one day and one guy came and reported that they just snatched his phone. Police officer gave him gun. I asked him to go and fight them.
So it's something of concern, and I think that the government should look into it, because really there are private security agencies, private security outfits, where individuals, the VIP actually can approach. You have to give them to provide security, and so the police actually provide security for the citizens generally. I think that would be the best approach, and we hope that this does not continue. And like I said earlier on, we've seen every Inspector General of Police upon being appointed coming out to say that, look, we
don't want this, we don't want that.
This. But it's never really been, implemented. We still see this huge number of policemen attached to VIPs, leaving the citizen to just, face the situation on their own. We hope that that this discussion will kind of generate that interest enough for the police to do the right thing, and for the government actually to do the right thing, and then so that at the end of the day we have more of these policemen protecting the citizens, and not just I know that the VIPs are also citizens, but they can afford to
private
security outfit to provide the security for them. Okay, so this is where we're going to draw the curtain for now. Thank you so very much for viewing. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
My name is Joshua Bassey. Please keep watching BusinessDay Television.